As you can see here in my code, I have a app.js file, which is just returning a feed screen or a feed component. And I have the feed component here. The feed component has the title and a button to go to a feed item. So the on press is here. I have not implemented that yet. And you can see we have our detail screen here, and I have a button that says view bottom tabs and view top tabs. So if you go to our tab folder here that I have in the screens tabs folder, you see tab 1, tab 2, and tab 3. So tab 1 is just a functional component. It's very basic. It just returns a centered view with a title that says tab 1. Tab 2 is the same thing. Tab 3 is the same thing here. So then we have a drawer for our feed screen. So our drawer is not here yet, but for our drawer we have screen 1, screen 2, screen 3. Very similar to our tabs here. So these I'm not really going to change a lot for our video. But I just wanted to create these files here to show you how you might want to structure your project when you're making a much larger app. And then I have my styles here for the centered components and the title. Okay, so let's get started with this. Let's go to our app.js. And the first thing we're going to do, let's go to the docs first actually. And you can see down here, from our React navigation / native, we want to use our navigation container. So this is part of our imports here. I'm going to go to the package.json, and you can see that I've already installed all of these different dependencies here. So we have maxed view, bottom tabs, core, drawer, bottom tabs, top tabs, native, and stack. So you might not want to include all these in your app. It depends on what you want to use. If you only want to use tabs, only use tab. If you only want the drawer, just put the drawer. If you only want the stack, put the stack, and so on. And for iOS, don't forget to go into your iOS folder and do a pod install to make sure that you have your pods installed correctly for your app. There might be some issues with the different dependencies that you have here. When I first tried to install these different ones, I had to mess around with the versions a bit. So if you have some issues with the dependencies and not being able to actually launch the app, please leave a comment in the comment section or message me on Facebook. Okay, so let's go back to the docs real quick. So the getting started walks you through all this stuff here. So first we will create a navigation container as we see here. So let's go back to the code and go to app.js. And I'm going to import something from React navigation. Yeah, don't forget that. So for version 5, you have to use the @ symbol for your imports. So React navigation and do native. Okay, and then I'm going to import navigation container. And then in our return here, I'm going to remove this for now and put in a navigation container component. And then for the first screen, so for this screen here, I want to have a drawer for our feed list here that you might have. So I'm going to import something from @React navigation drawer, and that will be called create Drawer Navigator. So whenever you are trying to create the objects for your navigators, you always use the word create first. So it'll be create Drawer Navigator, create Stack Navigator, etc. So above our component here, I want to actually add our navigator objects that we want to have. So we do this by first saying constant, and then I'm going to say drawer, and then I'm going to say equals create Drawer Navigator. And I want to import some other ones too. So let's just copy and paste this one a couple times, and I want to change this one to stack and do create Stack Navigator, and also tabs too. So I'm going to say material bottom tabs. So I'm going to say create material bottom tab navigator. Okay, paste this one more time and do top tabs and do create material top navigator. Okay, and then I'm going to copy this one and paste this one 4 more times or 3 more times. So this file is going to be pretty big, but most of your navigation code will all be in this one file. So it's nice to have everything in one place, so it's easy to manage. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to say stack, and then I'm going to say create Stack Navigator. And then for this one, I'm going to say, let's call it material bottom tabs, and then create material bottom tab navigator, and then material top tabs, and then this will be create material top tab navigator. Okay, make sure you don't forget the parentheses here because these are functions. Okay, and let's go down to our navigation container. So the way that you structure the navigators in React Navigation 5 is very different than how we did it in version 3. So in version 3, it was more function based than version 5. So version 5 is more component based. So for this one, we want to put a drawer first for the screen. So let's do drawer. So for each of these here, you have a navigator object inside of these. So you say drawer.navigator, and that's it for that part. And then you actually put the drawer items inside of this component. So you say drawer, and then for your drawers, you'll create different screens. So you say drawer.screen, and then you give the screen a name. So you can say name equals, and for the name, for this one, I'm going to say home. We'll come back to this in a second. So let's terminate that here. Next, put a couple more of these here. So let's do home, and let's do something that you might have in your app. Let's do like contacts, maybe like favorites, and maybe like settings here. Okay, and then for this one, we want to define the component. So for component, there's a component prop here, and you tell the component prop what component you want to put here, or what you want to show when the user presses on that item in the drawer. So let's actually import our other screens here. So let's import screen 1 from source screens drawer, then screen 1. Okay, and let's just copy and paste this 2 times and do screen 2, screen 3, screen 2, screen 3. And while we're up here, let's do our tabs too. So let's go down here and do tab 1, we'll call it. And then this will be coming from screens, tabs, tab 1, copy paste this 2 more times, tab 2, tab 3, tab 2, tab 3. Okay, and that takes care of our screens and our tabs, or our drawer screens and our tabs. So let's add our detail screen here too. So let's do import detail from, let's do source detail. Okay, so we have our components from our project here in our app.js. So all of your imports for your different components and screens are in one place, which I think is very convenient. Some people might not like it, but I like it. So let's go back down to our return function here. And for our context here, I want to say component equals screen 1. And then I'm going to copy and paste this into here. And for this one, I'm going to say screen 2 and screen 3. You might want to just call these components contacts, favorites, and settings if you want to. Up to you. Okay, so you see that we got an error here when we saved. It says couldn't find a component or children prop for screen home. So that means that we did not pass something into here, a component or a children prop into here. So for home, I'm going to do something different. I'm not going to create a component prop. I'm going to create the children prop. And I'm going to do that first by going up here inside of our app component. And I'm going to create a new stack here because I want our Drawer Navigator to have a Stack Navigator inside. So I like to separate things out a bit too. I'm going to create a new function. It's going to be called create stack, or let's call it create main stack, or create home stack. That's even better. Create home stack. Okay. And for this one, we're going to return a stack. So that's coming from our create stack navigator. So stack dot navigator. So we're using the same notation that we did here, drawer.navigator, stack.navigator. This is a component. Okay, and inside here we're gonna create our screen. So we're gonna say stack.screen, and the name for this one will be feed. So we're gonna call this one feed. This will be our main feed. Feed. And then we're gonna have the same component prop here. So we're gonna say component equals, and then that will be the feed component that we imported up here. Okay, I hope this is all making sense so far. If not, please review what I've done before. If you have questions, please let me know. So we have our stack screen instead of our stack navigator. So we want to create one more too. So let's do detail now. So detail. So this is like you have a list of feed items. So for example, you might have like a list of foods as a feed, and the user clicks on a food item and goes to the detail screen for that food item. Okay, so we have a detail screen, and then we put our detail component here. And for now, I'm just going to keep it like this to make it simple. So we're just going to have a feed and detail screen with our feed and detail component. Okay, let's go down here to our drawer screen again, and let's use the children prop this time. And then we're going to add in, actually I need to move this to our render. So let's go down here to render, and let's put in our create home stack function here. Okay, let's save. And now you can see we have no errors. So let's see if the drawer works. Let's pull from the left side. You can see we have our home, contacts, favorites, and settings drawer here. So that matches what we have here for our screens. The screen is what you see when you click on these items. So for home, you see the same thing. For contacts, you see we have a new screen with contacts. For favorites, you see we have favorites. And settings, you have settings here. Notice that you don't see a back button or anything here. That's because we are in the same Navigator branch here. Like, this is not a Stack Navigator, so we're not going to a new component. We're just changing the screen that we show from the drawer. Okay? So we have our Drawer Navigator done. That's finished. So now let's test the Stack Navigator here. So let's press go to feed item. And you can see that doesn't work yet. And that is because we have not told our Navigator to go to the detail screen in our stack. So let's go to the feed screen here, and we have to actually use our Navigator object here. So if you've used version 3 before, then it's pretty much the same thing. You could say this dot props dot navigation dot navigate, and then you put in the actual route that you want to go to. So we called it detail in our app.js, so you can go back here, you can say it's called detail here. So the name has to match what you put inside of this navigate function here. Okay, so let's save, let's reload. Now let's press this button, and you can see that we go to the detail screen that has our view bottom tabs and view top tabs buttons. And now we can go back and forth between these two, and we're just going back and forth inside of our very simple stack. So we have our Drawer Navigator working, and we have a Stack Navigator working. So let's go to the feed item, and now I want to create a new screen with bottom tabs and a screen with top tabs. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the app.js file, and I'm going to create two new functions to handle our bottom tabs and top tabs. So under the stack function here, I'm going to create another one called create top tabs. And for this one, I'm going to use the braces because I want to put in some other code here too. So we need to return something. So we're going to return the material top tabs that we created. Oops. Material top tabs. Okay, and that's coming from this here. And this should be material top tabs dot navigator to match this. So like there's a certain pattern that you can see here. So you always say this function dot navigator to create the actual navigator object, and then inside of your navigators you have your screens, which are either like stack screens or tab screens in our case. So now we could say material top tabs dot screen, and then we can have a name here. So name equals, and for this one I'm just going to say tab 1, keep it simple, and then we define our component, and our component would be equal to tab 1, which is our component from up here. Okay, let's just close this and get rid of this here. And let's make sure that we close our navigator. So let's do material tabs dot navigator here. And then let's just copy and paste this line 2 more times. So we have tab 2, tab 2, tab 3, tab 2, tab 3. Very simple. Copy and paste this entire function and do the same for the bottom tab. So let's do create bottom tabs. And I'm actually going to have the exact same tabs for the top tabs and the bottom tabs. So make sure you rename this to material bottom tabs. Copy, paste, copy, paste. Okay. So since we want to actually go to this after the detail screen, we need to add this to our Stack Navigator that we created right here. So we have feed detail. Now we want to add 2 more here. So let's copy and paste this. And this one is going to be called bottom tabs. Let's do bottom tabs. And this one is going to be called top tabs. Okay, and now instead of the component, I want to use the children like we did down here for our home. So for our children, I want to point to these functions here. So we created these functions to return the Navigator object. So let's put these inside of here. Create top tabs, this should be down here, and create bottom tabs. Okay, so let's see what happens if we try to run this. Save. I'm going to reload. Let's go to feed item, view bottom tabs. You can see nothing happens here, and that's because we did not actually wire in our button clicks for our detail screen. So let's go to detail, and we're going to follow the same logic that we did in our feed screen. So I'm just going to copy and paste that from here and put it into here. And then for this one, it has to match the same string that we defined up here. So let's do bottom tabs, detail. So let's do bottom tabs here, copy paste. And this one is top tabs. Let's save, reload. Let's see if this works. And then let's press view bottom tabs. You can see we have our bottom tabs here, tab 1, tab 2, tab 3. If we go back here to our top tabs, you can see we have our top tabs here, tab 1, tab 2, tab 3. And then we can go back and forth between all these. So we have 3 different screens inside of our Navigator here. And inside of a few of those screens, we have other navigators. This has our Drawer Navigator, and then we go to our feed item, and then we go to this screen, which has our tab navigators inside. This covers the 3 basic navigators that you'll be using in your apps. So now I want to cover more of the styling that you'll use for your apps. So this looks good, but we can make it look a little bit better. We can add some more colors and styling to the overall navigators that we use in our app. So first, let's go to our app.js. Let's go to our tab 1, and I'm going to put these on a separate line. And we also have access to a few other properties here. There's a property called options. So options lets you define different options for this particular screen. So we can say options equals. And then for this one, I'm just going to use something simple. I'm going to say title. And then I'm going to have the title be, let's say hello. So this is in our top tab. So let's press save. And let's go to our top tabs. And now you can see that we changed the title of this tab to hello. So that's how you actually define how you want the tab text to look. So you can say title hello. And you could do the same thing for your bottom tabs too if you want to. So let's go to our feed stack here. Let's put this on a different line too. And let's go back to the feed screen. And here we'll use the options property too. So let's do options equals. And then I'm going to say title my feed. And let's press save. And now you can see that the title of the action bar or the toolbar here changed to my feed. And let's put these on a different line. So we can change a few things with the header too here. We can say header style. So header style, there we go. And then you could put some more styling into here. You could say background color. Background color. And then you can change that to something like, let's say black with quotes. So black, save. And now you can see our toolbar is black. So now if you want to change the text to white, there's the option for that too. You can go down here. And for this one, you'll use header tint color. So header tint color. And for this one, you can just define it here. You can just say white. And now we have a black background with white text in our header here. Let's go down here and copy and paste this into here. Let's change this to detail screen, and let's change this to blue. We can keep this one as white, save, then go to feed item. You can see we have blue with white text now. So it's really easy to customize how your navigation header looks inside of your app. You can do the same types of things with your tabs too, with your drawers also, but we're going to keep it pretty simple with this and leave it with the stack screens here. So the last thing I want to cover is I want to cover passing objects between different screens, passing them to the next screen and passing them back to the previous screen. First, go to the feed.js here, and in order to pass something to the detail screen, it's really easy. You just do comma here, and then you can put in the parameters that you want here. So we'll define an object and just call it screen name, and then we can put in the screen name here. So you can put in a detail screen, or let's put my detail screen. And, okay, and we can save. And now let's actually debug this. So I have my debugger open here. And let's go to the detail screen and let's console.log this.props dot, let's just do this.props. Okay. So let's save, reload. Let's shrink this down a bit. And let's go to the feed item here. You can see we have our this.props here. So this.props returns the navigation object and the route. So the route is where you would actually locate your parameters that you pass. So we passed screen name, so you can see screen name, my detail screen here. So if we want to use this in our app, we can go back to the app here and go to detail, and now for the title, we can define this as this.props.route params dot screen name. Okay, and now you can see we have my detail screen here. That's normally how you would pass different props around to your app. So there's different ways to do this too. If you're using hooks, then hooks makes things a lot easier because you can use a navigation hook and you can use a route hook among other things. But I wanted to keep this video pretty simple for those that don't know how to use hooks yet. So I want to pass some properties from here too. So let's pass in something called, let's just call it name. And then this will be param1, let's call it. And then let's copy and paste this to here. And this will be param2. And now you might be wondering like how we access these parameters. Because we're not going to a specific screen, we're going to a navigator. So bottom tabs and top tabs, if you go back to app.js here, these are actual navigators here that we're going to. We're going to the tab navigator, top tabs and bottom tabs. So in order to access this, you could actually access this from your props field. If you go up here to top tabs, let's say props here, and then let's actually log what this is. So console.log, and let's just log props. Okay, let's reload. And let's go to feed item. Let's go to top tabs. So now this is that line that we just put in our app. And now for our route, you can see we have name param2. When you're passing data to a navigator, this is a good way to actually get that data. And now if you want to, you can use props.route.params and you can pass it into your individual screens here. So you can pass it into tab 1, tab 2, tab 3, etc. if you want to. So you can define it like for example, you could say props.route.params.name here. And you can use that as your tab 1 title if you want to. Okay. You can go back here, view top tabs. You can see param2 is here. So the last thing I want to do is I want to show you how to pass data back to the previous screen. For example, in your Stack Navigator, to pass data back from your detail screen to your feed screen. So I'm going to go back to the detail screen and I'm going to create a new button here. So I'm going to copy and paste this. Pass data back. Keep it simple. And then to actually pass data back to the previous screen, I'm going to just name the screen here. So it'll be feed. So in their app.js, it'll go back to the feed. Okay? And it's not creating a new feed screen in the stack. It's going back to the previous stack if it exists. So if you're trying to navigate to a screen that already exists, it will actually go back to that previous screen. So that's something to keep in mind when you're developing the flow of your app. Okay, so let's go to detail. So feed, and I'm gonna call this parameter data just to be different. And I'm just gonna just say hello. Okay, and that'll be it for that. And then let's go back to the feed component, and I'm going to console.log this.props. Okay, so let's go to our debugger and let's go to the app and reload it. So you can see now our log does not have any parameters defined for our feed screen here. So let's go to feed item, and then let's go back to the feed item by pressing this button here. So pass data back. And now if you go into our log here, you can see that we have our parameter here that says data hello. So now if you want to, in our feed, you could check to see if that parameter exists first. So you can say like if this.props.route.params.data exists, then you could do something with that. You can show a different component if you want to. You could show like a toast, or you could show a alert to the user that they've done something in the child screen that needs to be shown in the home screen or the feed screen. So yeah, I'm going to end the video here. I might do a part 2 on version 5 because there's so much stuff in here that is new and interesting. So they've handled a lot of different problems that version 3 and 4 had. I think React Navigation is the only library that's even worth using now in your React Native apps these days. It's so good now. So I really like the component-based structure that they have here. It's a lot easier to visualize now than it was before. And your options are put directly into your screen components here, which is nice. Yeah, go to the docs, play around with all the different options that you have here. There's a lot of different things that you can do with it. Go to the guides here. It walks you through the tab navigation, drawer navigation. I've covered the very basics of what you'll do in your app. I wanted to cover the things that you'll probably use 99% of the time, which are just basic navigators, your Stack Navigator, Drawer Navigator, and maybe a tab navigator. I will be posting videos more frequently now, so stay tuned for more videos, and happy coding. Bye.